Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Pointer Podcast on the Home Crowd Sports Network. Kenny Andres, we got Drew, we got Heathrow, and back to talk about this week's State of Origin. The teams are in. New South Wales announced on Sunday, and of course Queensland, being a little more laid back than the other states, announced it on the Monday morning following. Drew, mate, firstly, how are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good week, mate.
Yeah.
It's been a 4 weeks since I've seen you, lads. Been all right, Heather?
Yeah, good. First sighting of Ivan Milat today in 10 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
He's your Heather mention of the week.
He's got terminal cancer and...
Oh, jeez, I feel bad about laughing. Yeah.
Thanks for the lols there, Heather.
That's what's been happening.
Starting with a bang. Coming with the heavy stuff.
It's topical.
Yeah, all right, and that's all we've got to
Have you enjoyed our Pointer Podcast for this week? Best wishes to Ivan Milat.
Number for Lifeline is 13 something.
If you're having trouble, make sure you speak out, reach out. It's not weak to speak.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
Queensland,
What's the topic? What's the
Your connection to Ivan Milat.
Oh, I don't know. Just sort of something I'd mention.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So the teams are announced this week.
Ivan Milat's playing on the wing.
We might
18th man.
need the 19th man for that.
22nd man.
Oh, did not expect this. All right, but we're going to be starting reacting to both teams, Queensland and New South Wales.
It's a week.
And then we've got a couple of other topics we're going to talk about. I'm going to stop. You know what? I'm going to stop giving you guys a heads up what we're talking about. Listen to the damn podcast if you want to hear what the rest we're talking about. We've got some really sick inside information that you won't get unless you listen all the way to minute 27. God, I hope this podcast goes more than 27 minutes.
24.
But yes, let's start with the Queensland Maroons, given how much attention we gave the Blues last week. Hey, we weren't too far off our New South Wales pick'em side.
We were close. Really
Yeah,
close.
we were.
Kotrick getting on the wing is
Kotrick
obviously
on the
ruined
left.
my sort of
That
selection.
was,
But
who did we miss? We just missed Paul Vaughan in the starting.
I told you Cody Walker's playing six.
And
but,
Cody, yeah.
The
but,
bench was pretty close too, wasn't it?
Jackie, well,
Yeah, you
Because
were
we
spot on with Jack.
we were talking about our lack of front rowers on there.
Yeah.
And they...
next minute,
Point
House, Cameron Murray. I'm still surprised about Crichton.
Yeah.
But
Has he really been playing well enough?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised. But question: if the concussion isn't an issue, was Kiri's name there ahead of Cody Walker?
It's a tough one, eh? Because Cody Walker's gone quiet the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't know.
In any case, I think he deserves to be there. I'm happy he is. I would have gone Reynolds at half, but I guess you're trying to keep some sort of sense of continuity with your halves. They're trying to create what Queensland did by having those same people roll through. So fair play in that respect. But we're talking about Queensland. Are there surprises here? I mean, let's talk about the guarantees we all knew were going to be in there. Pong at 1.
Yep.
Guarantee. Munster at 6. We all knew. If he was healthy, we all knew Cherry Evans was going to be in the 7. The captaincy, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Popper getting another start in the front row. This makes this what? This will be a second start at Origin level, I believe.
I think he's the leader of that forward pack now.
Not Maguire?
Him and Matt
Gillett?
Gillett. Yeah.
And then Felice Kafusi, I think was despite his up and down form, was also probably not worried to lose his edge.
No.
Gillett as well. Now that he's healthy, he's back in there. Maguire. But let's talk about some of the sort of surprising looks. The one everyone wants to talk about is Ben Hunt at hooker. We had a bit of a chat about this, and it's one of those things that you and I believe that, hey, if we think you want to start blooding for the future, chuck in young bloke from Parramatta.
Yeah.
Mahoney. But obviously they decided to go with Ben Hunt. Someone raised a good point when I was talking during the week that Queensland with this side, it's actually a good side. They're actually not that far off from competing. So it's one of those things that, well, if you've got to think, you got a chance to jag one.
As a New South Welshman, that's a dangerous side. Like, that's actually a stronger side than I thought when I looked at it. Especially now you've got, like Gay Guy, Chambers, Cameron Munster, Daly, Cherry Evans. That's an underrated halves pairing, I think.
Do we think Cherry Evans is healthy?
I have no idea. You have to ask him.
I'll do that tomorrow.
I'll tell you who isn't healthy. Ivan Milat.
No, doesn't have long to live.
It would have been an instant selection
He's a
otherwise.
sick man. Shout out to Heathrow for the Michael Morgan in the centres. I honestly didn't think that was going to happen, man.
Come on, we all said it, Morgan. You're the only one who didn't.
I don't pay attention to Queensland.
The thing you get with Michael Morgan in the centres is you get that extra support player. and we know how dangerous he can be in broken play. The other thing that you've got there is you've got an extra playmaking option, as you do at the hooking position. There's 3 and a bit halfbacks in that starting side, isn't there?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Then let's not forget, I always bring it up, he's done the job at centre before, at left centre before. He's done that at Origin level.
But you think fifth tackle, he's going to be dangerous. Like, you can spin it wide and still have a playmaker.
And still be able to do that. Well, especially, and then let's not forget, everyone wants to joke about Chambers' inclusion, but the guy, has proven he's a constant defender, and he's going to be out there to try and prove that he can handle the troll this time. But both edges now, they have that option to spin it and have the centre pop in a little kick at the end. Melbourne's been using that a lot with Chambers, and now they've got it on both sides, Queensland. So, but let's talk about some of the surprises there. Moses Mbai at 14.
So he was in the mix, but I never took it seriously. Yeah. But I like that option. He's been playing really well. I like him at fullback for the Tigers. He's shown some good leadership there as captain. I don't know if getting the captaincy has maybe made him kind of step up to the mark a little bit more, but I've seen some of his positional play at fullback, and he's lightning quick, and he covers the field really well. Great defensively, and he covers the hooker. He covers halves, hooker, fullback, anywhere in that back line. I think that's a really astute pick.
Who else would you put in there as a utility? I was going to ask you guys.
Allow me. I've got a very passionate thought about this. I think Moses Mbai, great guy, salt of the earth. Lovely guy from what I hear. And he has been playing okay. Okay is the word I want to use. Who hasn't been playing okay? Someone who's been playing, in my opinion, upper echelon, who deserved the crack here, and he is like 19th man or 20th man or something, is Capo from the Sharks. The back rower who can easily play at centre, even played on the wing for the Sharks on the weekend. And when you've got someone like Michael Morgan in centre who can play effectively the utility role, he can slip anywhere in the three-quarter line, is another bigger body to put on the bench, and you've got the halves and effectively hooker covered when you've got Hunt and Chambers already in the starting squad. I think he deserved a nod from the wonderful football he's been playing in the first half of the season. He would have been my choice at 14.
Interesting.
Who do you think's the number 21? Or do you think this is just a big maroon smoke screen?
That's got to be a G up. Like,
it's Cameron Smith. Didn't they say? I think I read today.
And I love it, for the record.
Traveling with the team. He won't play, but he'll just coach. Like, he's going to stay for the
friend. Queensland friend.
They can name him at 21 and he'll just never get a run.
Well, what's the protocol there? Like, what is the protocol once you say you're retired? Is that like just formalities? Like,
but it's the way he retired too. He retired, didn't he? Retire like a week out from
Origin. There's a lot of speculation as to why that happened.
Yeah, and then Kevy comes out and says, "No, he's retired. He's not. He's shown his cards."
Well, Josh Morris was retired.
Was he?
Yeah, he's come out of
really?
Yeah, he's come out of retirement.
I thought he was just not picked for 5 years. That's what my understanding was.
That was my impression. Maybe I got it wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised to see him slide in, to be honest.
I don't think he is.
How many minutes do you reckon Mbai gets? If that Maroons team is doing the job, does he even get a run necessarily?
If it's not out of necessity, a la Kalen Ponga from a serious pass, I think no more than 10.
Yeah.
I think if he
you would hope no more than 10, like if things are going well.
If you've got a pretty fit forward pack there, Papa's going to have to come off eventually. Ajayo's a bit of a workhorse. I don't know, Maguire has not been a regular 80 for North Queensland, but you should be able to get by with that rotation of Hangawi, Napa, and Fafita. God, I'm actually really excited. I'm usually a little bit sceptical about youth at Origin, but geez, Fafita's, I think, no dramas there.
Yeah, and any team with Ponga in it is just, he's a one-man wrecking machine.
How about you and I were talking this before the podcast. After copping that hit from JWH, he still he was down for a bit, but God, he came back and ended up putting a ton on Supercoach.
Yeah, I captained him too.
I did too.
Shout out to Kalen Ponga. Thanks for saving my week.
Didn't do enough for me, pal.
He's incredible though. Just for a kid, like again, moving him back to one, and he's just back to himself. Just scary.
I think that'll settle the argument for a while. He is a number one for the next 4 years.
They can't move him now.
Well, on current form, if we were picking an Australian team, I'd pick him over Tedesco. As good as Tedesco is.
I don't think that many people will complain.
I think that Tedesco, he's reached his ceiling. Ponga hasn't even hit his.
That's a call.
That's scary.
That's a call, but not a crazy take. I can get around that.
But I'd still have Tedesco on my side. I'd just have him on the wing.
Yeah, you could play.
He's good enough for that. Yeah, he's sort of like, Turbo and stuff like that. You can slip into the centres and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
At what point are we going to have an Australian side that is literally just all fullbacks in the borderline? I used to play rugby league too on the PlayStation. Yeah. I used to just slip the best fullbacks all across the borderline.
Why wouldn't you?
But yeah, I mean, Corey Oates, good job there. But yeah, I mean, that forward back obviously coming against a bit of a monster one in New South Wales. Payne Haas, we just talked about Fafita coming across there. I don't want to lead too far into it because we're about to talk about the New South Wales side, but this a forward pack that'll compete.
I was surprised how competitive it was. Like I remember thinking, oh no, we got this year easy. Like you guys are down on troops and everything else. But then when they released the side, I was like, oh, that's actually a very good team. Like, that's a scary team.
How many of those players aren't Australian reps? Jai Arrow, that's it.
No, and Jai Arrow's playing bloody well.
Oh, you mean the starters?
Oh, the starters, yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, I was surprised how strong it actually came out, so... yeah.
And the exciting things for and this is I'm sure this will be a topic we'll talk about leading up to game 2, but that pack could probably get better with Christian Welsh coming back from injury. So... good stuff there. I think this side's actually better than I expected. I'm probably now feeling a little more that you and I were both like, this series we can drop one, whatever. I think this side's probably reignited a bit of belief of getting the job done, especially when we're playing at Suncorp.
Yeah, this is a 1-6 result for mine.
There you go.
Their origins are notoriously close, but this, looking at both lineups, it's a 1-6 for sure. And I think it's almost close to even money. I mean, I'd probably have to put New South Wales in at $1.85 and probably Queensland at...
or something?
Not even that much. I'd put him at like 205. I don't think you can give away too many odds at Origin time because it's always so close.
Yeah, especially at Suncorp.
How about the little? How about Kevy just going on the attack? I don't know if you guys seen it. Obviously, I don't know if you guys watched the Queensland the Facebook Live event that came out. Immediately, someone even just it wasn't even an attack or at all like a hard dig journalism. Someone just made a light joke about Ben Hunt at 9. And Kev's immediately come back straight face and defended. He's like, I don't know if you guys saw last game when he played at 9. He is a brilliant number 9. If you're paying attention, he is. And he immediately just squashed the idea of going, she'll be right about it. He was like, he is an elite number 9 and he's going to get the job done. And then all the other stuff, I don't know if you guys heard, but he is. Then they asked him about New South Wales and he's like, no, I'm here to talk about how good this Queensland side is. And has since, his first instruction to the entire squad was, in the press day, because Queensland had their fan day today, he said, no one is to talk about New South Wales. Not at all. So they got Ben Hunt, they got even young Joe Offahengawe, the debutant. They tried to drill him, and the media obviously got word of this, and they're like, so what's your make on New South Wales? And the troops have rallied up and said, you know what, I'm just here to talk about this team and how good this team is. And I'd say, look, it seems a little OT, for now, but then I'm like, now he's already trying to get the mindset of saying it's us versus them, we're worrying about us, and it's trying to get that underdog mentality back into Queensland, and because it's direction from Kev himself, I think it actually takes a bit of the media heat away from your players, because now all the media is concerned about this little whole charade about, they can't talk about it then, which means they're not thinking about trying to drill the players' personal sides. They're worried about that whole thing. It's actually a pretty good attack. That's straight out of Wayne Bennett's playbook, I'd say.
He used to do it all the time, remember?
He's the master.
There would always be this one big of a thing, and then it was just nothing.
Well, even think about last year with the whole when the Broncos were starting to get drilled for a bit, and he brought in that whole barbecue gate about players going around that. So then all the attention went to him opposed to that. It's a similar sort of thing, and I think it's not bad. It means the players have something like a bit of a blueprint to go off now, and it's kind of protected them from any potential dramas. So credit to Kev. I think that's a pretty good game plan.
Do you guys remember Kevin Walters' his "Shut Up Gus" campaign? We had those T-shirts that were "Shut Up Gus" every time Gus Gould would say something. It was a few years back at Origin time. I think he just invested a lot of money in his T-shirts and never sold. I think he went bankrupt. I'm
surprised.
Never caught on.
I didn't get that T-shirt.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
Like, "Shut up, Gus." It was a whole thing. It's like, oh, that's cute. Yeah, it's great.
That's nice.
There you go.
You can find those "Shut Up Gus" stores. eBay. Let's buy him out, mate. We'll add him to a merch store that will one day launch.
Shut Up Gus.
But yeah, there's Queensland Maroons. If you got thoughts, I'm sure you do, on this side, whether it's some about Ben Hunt and Hooker. Captaincy, actually, before we wrap up, DCE captaincy announced just yesterday evening after the full team was announced. Yeah, look, one game last year, obviously had his one game well before that, where people said he was never going to play Origin again.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, now he's the skipper. Is this a bit of a redemption story? This kind of has like shades of Justin Hodges. Remember, Hodges had that horrible game, took a couple of years off, came back, and all of a sudden he's the man, he's the enforcer of the Maroons. You guys agree, disagree, thoughts on DCE as the 15th captain of the Queensland Maroons, Benjamin?
I think that the media has orchestrated a redemption story. I think DCE makes 100% sense as captain. I think if Michael Morgan was in better form and basically made himself get picked in the halves, then I at the start of the season I would have had him as my captain, and I think that's what I said. Yeah. But DCE is a leader. Obviously, he's a bit of a polarising character. There was that whole fallout after that old Manly, the old guard of Manly just went offside with him when he re-signed?
Yeah, when he re-signed.
On big money after he turned his back on the Titans and he did a backflip. Yeah. But he's a great footballer. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's the general of that team, so it makes sense to have him there. He's a captain of his club. I'm all for it.
There's no other clear cut.
The other one.
They said Matt Gillett. I wouldn't have him as my captain.
He's never even captained at club level. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's not a knock on him in leadership at all, but to me that's a perfect VC.
Yeah.
Matty Gillett, he's the type of guy who said, look, we want to be part of this leadership group. Just lead by example. I mean, from what I understand, Gillo's not really much of a talker, but he's a real blue-collar guy who will say, hey, shut up, just get to work. He's your perfect VC. He's your left-hand man, the hand of the king, if you'd say.
They said that Lockie was a very non-verbal kind of captain who led by his actions, but he had a great team around him at Origin and Australian level. DCE's got a lot of young guys around him. They probably need a very vocal captain to be able to rein the troops in. So I think it's a great choice. Munster
was the other sort of I wouldn't call him a bit of a darkie in it, but he was another option, they said, because he has kind of got the playing group, but he's also incredibly volatile. I think you mentioned it. He's one bad piss up away from taking a series.
Could you imagine if the captain was in the middle of all of it? Which is absolutely possible with Cameron Munster.
Cool. I'm sure Johnsy was in the middle of it. I hear Lockie's been in the middle of it too, so maybe that's exactly what it should be. But again, maybe he's that perfect leadership group type of guy.
Yeah. I don't think he's ready. I think his day will probably come if he can mature. But
yeah, fair play. Yeah, so we'll retract and say, if you got any thoughts on the Queensland Maroons captaincy, Benny Hunt at hooker, Moses Sembai, the back line, chime in and we'll address them next episode. We're going to take a short break. Point 2, reactions to the New South Wales Brighton Lawyers Blues. I'll take my paycheck after this, Brightons. Yeah, look, they're fair to say they're going as the favorites. This thing, they've earned it. They won last series, and they've got on paper probably the better side. Yeah. Again, there are some locks in there. Obviously, Teddy was always going to be at fullback. Actually, if you think about it, with the exception of the forward back, Cordner and stuff like that, there was still probably a lot of question marks, particularly around the halves. Let's start with the halves. They decided to go with my man, the freaking ISC Player of the Year from 7 years ago, Cody Walker. At 5'8", I was championing for last week. They clearly listened to me, Danny Badeiras. Fun fact, I looked back at that podcast. I announced myself as being Joey Johns to start off with. And all of a sudden changed to Danny Badeiras. In any case, they listened to me. They put Cody Walker at 6. I thought then you maybe chuck Adam Reynolds at 7 then. I know he hasn't been lighting off the park, but the combination's there. Yeah. But it looks like they're trying to get some sort of what's the word for it, loyalty to the particularly in the halves, so that's why they've stuck with young Cleary despite his from that we said he had turned it around last week and had a pretty solid game. I think from what I heard, Fittler had a word to him and said you need to show me something. He puts in a man of the match performance. So fair play to him. Your thoughts on the 6 and 7 Walker and the Walker Cleary party? As the one Blues guys, I'll give you first, Brownie.
I wonder if Nathan Cleary comes out and has a very quiet game and they either lose or only just win. What happens there? Do they you talk about loyalty, but if he comes out and he's still playing like he did on the first 6-8 weeks of the competition, what do we do with him there? Do we bring someone in or do you stay with him and hope he plays himself into form? But I like Cody Walker. I think that's exciting. He's playing pretty good. If Keary was healthy, I think he potentially jumps into 7. I don't know. But Cleary's an odd one. We'll see. See how he goes.
Surely Keary was definitely in that side before that injury.
Knocked out for the
I think Cleary's very lucky to be in that team. I think Keary doesn't go down, he's not in.
Hey, maybe Fittler wasn't throwing the old smokescreen out there and he was legitimately going to pick Cleary all along, and he had that in mind. But going back to what you were saying about Cleary, my worry for him is if he has an off game, they lose, what does that do to his confidence moving forward in rep jerseys? I mean, I feel when it comes to State of Origin, it's an earned jersey.
Yeah.
And there is that aspect of loyalty, makes 100% sense. But you look at a guy like him, I don't think last week's performance was enough. And did he need Brad Fittler to call him and say, hey, I need to see something for you, for me to pick you, for him to actually show form for his club?
Yeah.
Like, that should be the least of his worries. He should be worrying about, getting his team up for... And look, it's not all his fault, the way the Panthers have been playing, but I don't know.
Papa.
Yeah.
He said
It'll show whether the Panthers are that bad and he's just an okay player in a bad squad. Like, if he comes in here and lights it up, you can think, well, maybe he's not in such bad form. But man, if he struggles, and even if they're playing really well and he just goes missing for large parts of the game.
Yeah.
What's worse for your confidence? Getting admitted and saying, sorry, mate, or going on and having not a great game and your team losing as favourites?
Look at Mitchell Pearce. He was just given that role for years after year, and he just did not do well, and I think it eventually affected him. And now he's got no pressure on him. He's probably playing some of the best football of his life at club level.
I low-key hope he comes in and saves the series for him.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's playing really well.
I want to hate him, but he's a likeable dude.
But yeah, I don't know. I think getting admitted, at least you can then go, all right, get the fire in the belly, just work my ass off and try and get back in. You're on the big stage, embarrassing yourself.
He wasn't expecting to get picked, and he even came out and said, I shouldn't get picked. So what does that do to his mindset if he's being told, well, you don't have to aim up to the mark and you'll still get picked? I mean, is that the right message to be sending to a guy is he even 21 yet?
No, he's like 19. Or turning 20, I think.
Yeah, so... Look, I think he's the future of that number 7 jersey. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
you can put him in too young. Like, again, Mitchell Pearce. We maybe just need to hold off on some of these guys.
Yeah.
Potentially. If they're struggling, especially.
But look, even if he has an off game and for whatever reason he has to get hooked, which won't happen, but I'm talking about in-game, there's enough coverage there.
Yeah.
Because if at worst, if you had to bring on Jack White to play 5'8" and then put Walker at halfback, you've got that luxury.
I lied. He is 21.
He's 21.
My bad.
When did he turn 21?
November.
So he's going to be turning 22.
But even if he gets dropped and he spends 2 years out, he comes back, he's 23.
Exactly.
It's not like he's 27.
No.
Yeah.
So not the worst thing in the world, but J-Moz getting a recall to the side after 5 years in the wilderness. Moved over to the Sharks, and he's answered the call for the right centre position. Thoughts on the recalling of Morris, Joshua?
There's a lot of young guys in that back line. I just wonder if he's just there to keep them all under control, and sort of, if the shit hits the fan, he's going to be the one that sort of settles them down.
I think you've also got a lot of high ceiling sort of guys there. You kind of just want to balance it out with a high floor guy, a guy you know which performance you're going to get out of.
Yeah.
You need to kind of find that balance. I think at Origin level, you want to mix in your big boom and bust. Hence why I should have said this in the last segment. I would have loved to see Edric Lee in there for Queensland on the wing, but you need to find that balance between your reliable performance players and your diamonds and rocks.
He's not going to do you wrong. He's an exceptional defender, and he's a great attacking player. I mean, he scored well over 100 first grade tries, right?
He knows how to find the line.
Yeah, he knows how to find the line, and he doesn't even have to be the try scorer in that back line. He's a
facilitator.
It is. That's a great back line there. There could have been an argument for Kotrick playing in the centres. I felt like he showed enough last week at that right centre position.
Yeah, he looks good.
Even if they played him on the left centre position, because he's naturally a left-sided player, they could have easily put him there. Obviously, you're not going to move Latrell, but
there's a danger of left-hand side. I want to give the floor to you, gentlemen, because I feel like you guys have been fighting for it and you deserve it. This is probably the biggest representation of Canberra Raiders we've seen in the Origin Arena in quite some time for both sides. You got your boy Kotrick in there. You guys have been you've been on that bandwagon for a long time, hoping that he gets a spot. Obviously, you in Queensland, you got Papali in there, and you've got 14. You got Jack Whiten. We thought that he would probably get overlooked, but he is in the 14 jersey. Called it.
Deserves it, doesn't he, Brownie?
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't expect it.
No.
But deserves it. And I'll tell you what, in a losing side last week, his kicking game was exceptional.
And he's an Origin player. He's built for Origin.
Look, he might be the future number 6 of that side. He has got so much ceiling. And I think it was Blocker that was saying it in the call, that he hasn't seen that kind of progression from a fullback turned 5'8" in half a season before.
I think he could even play 4, you know what? Like, if Josh Morris went down and they wanted to bring Kiri in or something and then put Cody Walker back to the utility, and he's had a game in game 1, you could easily slot him in there.
Oh, the best thing about his game when he first came through to grade was playing in the centres and just accent C-bombs, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was just a...
No, he was. He was just dropping them.
That was so smooth.
He was just dropping them.
Yeah, and as excited I was about this Queensland side, then you come back and see the blue side. The only thing that really gives me hope is that I just hope your halves shit the bed.
They could absolutely do it.
You know, and, I don't know why I looked at you when I said your halves, but hope your halves shit the bed.
He's got 3 halves.
Devil's advocate here. If you're Kevy, what do you tell? Are you telling your forwards to target Cleary and just absolutely just run at him all night and put him off his game? You do enough to a young guy like that, and you'll just totally break his spirit. Now, he's a great player, and he's pretty strong-willed. But do you think that the Queensland forwards can do enough to just absolutely put him off his game?
Well, mate,
would you be telling him to do that?
Well, I'm not here to talk about New South Wales. I'm talking to you about the good things that Queensland.
I guess he's right. Yeah.
No, you're right. And
Number 21.
Message in your disappointment now. Under 13's best and fairest. Don't you forget it.
Under 13s. There you go.
But yeah, no. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think almost any time your game plan is to attack a halfback, right? And it's just how much you want to dedicate to it. And I think why not? If you think Cleary is having those question marks of should I be here, and that can eat a man.
If Cody Walker struggles under the pressure, like this, just the occasion becomes too big for him, and he sort of goes.
Because Cody Walker's not a guy you want moving your team around. You kind of want to force him to be that guy.
Yeah.
And if you get into Cleary's head, so he doesn't do that job, all he's doing is catching and passing, and then all of a sudden you're making Cody Walker overcompensate. There's your game plan right there.
Yeah.
Turn into quicksand. Quick.
And then you cut them. That completely limits then the efforts of these amazing backs New South Wales have. If you're not getting early ball to Latrell and Kotrick, bugger that side off.
I can't wait to see Kotrick running off Latrell Mitchell. Like that's going to be fun to watch.
That is a dangerous side. Yeah. They could have a field day if Queensland's off. If that Queensland right side is off.
Kotrick's support play is exceptionally well. Like he's pretty underrated in that. I see him right there with Croker when Croker makes a break. Croker doesn't always throw that last pass. I think Kotrick could absolutely have 5 to 8 more tries a year.
He's got to be close to the action, doesn't he? He showed that last week. I
think, Latrell Mitchell makes a break. Kotrick will be right there.
Call your early bet. Your first try scorer going to Kotrick?
I'd get Kotrick. I'd put him down for 2.
Put him a double. They'll be paying like $6 or something like that.
Give him a double. That might be my bet next week.
I wonder if there's a...
hope the trail just hogs it.
I wonder if there's going to be a Will Chambers concedes try.
I'll tell you what though, if I was Kevy, I'm getting Chambers on the phone with bloody Hammett Shibasaki and young Tommy Dearden and saying, how did you guys do it? How did you do it? Because when the Broncos beat Sydney, Latrell did jack all. It was through the efforts of the jamming of Tommy Dearden and just the ballsy effort of Shibasaki, who offered nothing in attack because he was too bugged from making inside contact with Latrell. But like the Broncos are one of the few teams that actually shut down Latrell this year. So there's your Kevy. I'm on you. Don't worry. There's your blueprint.
He's sitting there. Thanks.
Kenzo? Yeah, man. Disco does
Got his
good,
popcorn.
Watching your podcast.
Writing it down.
But yeah, the bench. Let's talk about the bench. We did talk about Jack Wyden. Payne Haas obviously plays for my Brisbane Broncos, but geez, we're talking about some of these players. Broncos churning out youngins who haven't even played a full season yet. Chucking
10 games, is it? 10 first grade games?
Because he got knocked out in his debut and did his shoulder or something like that. And that's after, he didn't even start for Wynnum Manly in the lead up to getting called up for the Broncos. But when he did, he was a beast. But obviously, I think you just look at his stats now. The dude's averaging over 170 metres a damn game, and half of them haven't even been starting. Him and Fafita, geez, both of them for both Queensland and New South Wales. I think they're young and they're horribly inexperienced, but I don't think anyone's doubting their selections.
No. Brad Fittler, when he was talking about selecting Payne Haas, he was very happy. He had a big grin on his face. He was like, 10 games in, no issues picking this guy.
As long as big fellas run hard, just let him go. I think Origin, that's the one forgiving area of the game is you can probably just let... They've got the guts.
Forwards can do it a lot earlier than the outside backs and your halves.
Yeah, definitely.
Now where was I going with this? Yeah, how about we didn't talk about this last week, but how about TPJ coming out and saying, no, we've got
just kidding, fellas.
Just JK, you can't select me. I know you want to, but I can't because I'm playing with Tonga, right?
He wasn't getting selected anyway.
Is that the equivalent of you didn't break up with me, I broke up with you?
Yeah, no, I quit. Can't fire me.
But he's been in out of form. You called it a couple of weeks ago, saying he's bolted to not be selected, and lo and behold, there it is.
He's a bit like Milford. He could just look like a world beater one game, and then 3 games in a row, he's just not even on the field. He just doesn't seem like he's out there.
Whereas Payne has been incredibly consistent.
TPJ is young, though, so give him a couple of years, maybe.
I have a conspiracy theory on TPJ.
Go on.
Oh. Well, my conspiracy theory
is this. Get your foil hats out.
My conspiracy theory is this. Following the whole Israel Folau saga, a lot of the Tongan boys, the religious Tongan boys, I don't know how religious TPJ is, but I'm going to assume he probably is. A lot of those guys have probably been in talks, whether it's in union or league, and they're going, you know what, we're going to turn our back on Australia, any form of Australian representation, and we're going to stick to our country because they're obviously going to be tolerant of our beliefs and so forth. That's just my little devil advocate kind of conspiracy theory on there. My little hot take on that. And also they want to strengthen that nation as a growing, emerging rugby league nation, which is a good thing to do. But I think maybe some of that's crept into it.
Well, if that's the case, let's say in this world you are correct in saying that. I don't necessarily agree with the methodology of that decision making, but I do like the net result.
Yeah.
If that means that's lot of our extra tier nations are getting a lot of these players, nothing would make me happier than in 10 years' time, hell, if I'm being generous, 20 years' time, that Tonga is a legitimate challenger for first, for World Cup, and then we have a legitimate Southern Hemisphere World Cup thing going on, plus featuring England.
It should be though, yeah. I mean, it should absolutely be that way. Look, some of those, the Tonga team would be strong right now.
Imagine the outside backs in Fiji. Everyone's got it's the new thing in vogue to have a Fijian winger.
Yeah. Tonga's almost head and shoulders above Samoa, where it used to be Samoa was the better team, wasn't it? And they've just grown in strides. They're looking great. That English side is going to be really good too.
Yeah.
Especially considering that now they've got more NRL representation and they've got Wayne Bennett. They've got
it excites me.
Yeah.
And all those boys are playing at the Raiders together, so they know each other's game. Could be really interesting.
How about the Raiders? We haven't touched on this, but the Raiders decided, look, we can't bloody keep people in our own damn country, so let's create a pipeline to England. I credit to them. That whoever's running the show down there,
that was always the knock though. No one wanted to live in cold Canberra. They wanted to live on the beach, and so they went, hold on, where's the only coldest place in Canberra? UK.
Well, that recruitment strategy has been the recruitment strategy from day dot for Canberra, hasn't it?
Has it?
It's been we look at Queensland. First they looked at Queensland, and then they looked at New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then we've gone to England. So you look at some of the great players that we've had that have come from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Quinton Pongia, who passed away sadly last week. Ruben Wiki.
That's true.
Player manager. Now, what's his name? Tyrone Smith.
Oh,
Remember Tyron Smith?
Oh, wow, the big lanky.
Yeah,
He looked like a
he's a
villain
player
in
manager now, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those great players that we had from New Zealand, and then we went to Fiji too. We took Fijians.
Yeah.
That was the recruitment strategy because no one wanted to come to Canberra. So
Toronto, you're next.
Bring him back. No, it's true.
the New York Skyhawks or whatever. I don't know.
But yeah, no. Hey, oh man, I wish we could still pluck those Queenslanders out of. Most of them play for South Logan, I think, like Gary Belcher, Melman, and Peter Jackson. The
killing of that relationship was. I feel like that was an actual travesty for rugby league as a whole.
Well, Anthony Milford killed that. The Brisbane Broncos killed that because they went. Well, yeah, and TPJ's the same. You brought these guys through, and TPJ less because
he was from Newcastle. Yeah.
But as soon as they get into first grade and they look good, come on, bud, and we have nothing, like we can't defend against that. No. So I think that's when they cut ties with Queensland and went right over where else? England, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was luckiest position to be in, I guess, because it's worked out a treat. But yeah. And you look at Milford and TPJ, and don't get me wrong, would have been great to keep them, but kind of happy we didn't. At least at this point.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to compete with Brisbane from a lifestyle perspective. Like, I mean, Brisbane is the Goulburn of Queensland, right? So,
yes, it is.
We done talking about New South Wales?
Yes.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. Oh, no, we're talking about New South Wales. Remember? Oh, you're not talking about New South Wales.
The other team.
The other team.
James Seguiaro. Excuse me, mate. Look, I like danning 15 beers as much as the next bloke. But when you're waking up the next morning as dusty as the Simpson Desert, it's probably not the best idea to jump in the car and head down the road for a couple of McCart starters. Remember, too many D's, put down the keys. #lifehack.
Oh, Jeebus. Anyway, that was Tangles covering this. Actually, it's a good segue into this topic. Thanks, Tang.
Segue.
nice segue into this topic. Point 3. Enough of Origin for now. Someone who didn't make Origin, despite my suggestion, Kevin, was James Seguiaro. Now, the man has played 2 games for the Brisbane Broncos, and you'd think after, getting a lifeline because he got ousted by the Sharks, not his fault. They had salary cap dramas. He was first in, first out. So he was playing New South Wales Cup, working for Jason Nightingale's bloody cafe as a barista to make some actual coin. Broncos say, "Hey bro, we need a hooker. Get up here." And he goes, "Sweet, I'm coming home." And wow, I thought there was some tape there. It's gone. And then as a storybook sort of entry, scores a try to seal the game against an upset victory against the Roosters. Then gets a bit of drama because the Broncos allegedly did not fill out the paperwork super correctly as far as registering him. The NRL said, "Don't worry about it this time
It's
round."
also their fault.
Right, sweet. And then he goes off having a bevies and has been caught for drink driving, despite all the attention on him right now. And look, we've spent many a podcast topic talking about the joys of, morality and behaviour in the NRL at the moment, and this is what we're talking about. Matter of fact, I think a mate of yours actually did a whole NRL youth segment on the topics of drink driving as an NRL player.
Yes.
Mate, I'll open the floor. Benjamin.
Well, for starters, if this had happened to any other club than the Brisbane Broncos or the Sydney Roosters or the Melbourne Storm, then they would have lost 10 competition points.
Stop it. Facts. Stop it.
Facts. It's just a administrative error there.
Yeah,
no, that's
was
a
on
lot
us.
of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I mean, that's all I got to say about that. It was the point. So he's on his P's, which is funny. Let's just
acknowledge that. I thought it would be the first guy to mention it because I wasn't exactly early onto my license. But mother flipper, he's 28 years old.
You got to get on that.
Our assistant producer here, Mitch here on a P's, but you're at an acceptable age for that, mate. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that, would you, Mitch? No, he's shaking his
Mitch is a good
head.
guy.
He's a good bloke.
He's responsible.
He's smart.
Yeah.
He was
be like Mitch.
.05.
He's a gentleman.
.05.
the next day, though. Like, the next day.
yeah.
He was
going, he's been caught going off, grabbing a coffee.
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 Oh, he's a barista. He knows how to make it.
I've got an accent. I can't be James Seguiara. James Franchiara.
But yeah, he's going off, and the next day, and look, I know some people are trying to blow it off, saying, look, it's not a big deal. If he was on his opens, he'd be fine. But that's the thing, he's not on his opens, and you don't get a pass for that.
And you're just breaking back into the league. You're on your, last
Come on,
chance.
cuzzo. And I love you, James. Don't say this is a knock. I love you. I wanted you to be playing Origin, man. But come on, man, be smart. You know the rules. Buy his product. There you go. We're cool. But yeah, no, especially after, they grabbed him on the post show after that Roosters game and stuff like that. The highlights on you, man. Don't take chances.
You know the next day whether you should or should not be driving. I mean, there's always that, I got to go out, but I probably shouldn't be driving.
Get an Uber, bruss.
Point 5, it's not like, geez Louise, dude, that's right.
That's that point where you're like...
Yeah, you're like, all right, no,
I'm
definitely should not be.
Was it like the next day, like 8 a.m. or 2 a.m.?
Well, that's the thing. I have no idea.
Who's doing coffee at 2 a.m.? Macca's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was going to get hash browns for sure. I'll get cookie, boss.
But yeah, the Broncos have acknowledged it. They certainly haven't tried to sweep it under the rug. But they still haven't announced whether they're going to possibly talk about stepping down the NRL integrity units on it. The Broncos have firstly confirmed that he is keeping his contract. There's no dramas there. The rumours I've heard on my grapevine is that a possible 1-game suspension, which raises the question, which Q Cup team is he going to? But yeah, I mean, what do you guys make of it? I mean, is that accurate? Is that,
Look, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst thing in the world. We've all done that before. I lost my license when I was in my early 20s for doing a similar type of thing. I wasn't on my opens. I was just over. But
Heather,
you're a professional football player. You're in the public eye. You're probably on your third last chance.
just get some Nescafe in the cupboard.
just
Get an Uber. Don't you make enough money? What is he on,
Eats.
match payments or something?
Well, he'd be on minimum because you come in last minute and he can't exactly be determining stuff. So
What's minimum wage NRL? 70?
75 or something like
Oh,
that?
jeez.
Not bad.
That's still more than I make from my day job.
Come on, Seg.
And I can afford Ubers.
And, get Nightingale to set one up for you, mate.
Just send anyone else out. Yeah.
You probably
Why
could.
shout?
You might even be able to Uber Eats coffee, from
You probably
Macca's.
could. Yeah, you absolutely could.
Oh, so he went out for a coffee.
Yeah.
Did we not establish this?
Oh, so
Trophies
it was like legitimate. I thought this was
No, I wasn't taking the piss. He literally, it was the day after, he was going out, caught out, grabbing coffee. That's how he got
right.
Does that change your stance at all?
Allegedly.
Now I kind of feel sorry for him. He just kind of got caught out. I hate cops, so yeah.
Shout out to the QPS.
You know what, Segi? You did the right thing. You just got caught. Never get
no
caught.
snitch. I'll kill a snitch.
You know the worst is when Brady gonna have to choke. You know the worst thing is any rugby league player who's played any sort of competitive rugby league is just applauding you right now. They're all like, he's right. This guy's right. I like this guy.
Put him on the big
I'm drinking coffee right now.
Yeah, coffee. As am I. Oh, you just refilled your coffee, mate. That was real quick.
Yeah, that's bubbly coffee.
What were we talking about?
No idea.
And then I guess, Saggy, be smarter, pros. We love you. We want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Be
Come on,
smarter.
Saggy.
Come on, man.
Sort his life out.
We still got a fourth topic to go.
Oh.
We've covered a lot of good stuff so far. But yes, of course, fourth topic. You already know what it is. It is punt time. And guess what? You're looking at 3 bloody losers right now, which means I'm a winner.
That's not correct.
Because if we all lose, it means I stay in the lead with 718 to my name. And these two guys, well, you can either look at it as second or as I see it, you both lost.
Yeah.
At 580. So let's recap last week's punt. Heather, you went with a cheeky multi. You said Raiders would score 3+ tries. They did not. They did. Parramatta would score 3+ tries. They did not. And then you also had Melbourne with a margin of 9.5 handicap on them. Obviously, that's moot post Parramatta's failure. That was at 532. That would have turned out a beautiful prof for you there. But alas, you are still at 580. You and I bet on the same game there, Brownie. You had Ikevalu. You were very, very confident that at $2 Ikevalu was going to be an anytime try scorer for you.
If they showed up, he would have scored 3 tries.
If they got off the bus, you probably could have done that. Alas, it appears they did not. So you are still on 580, and your boy Kenzo is still in the lead, even though he bet on the Cox to go 1-12 over Newcastle, and that leaves me at 718. Nonetheless, I have the lead. So with no one moving forward or backward this week here, leading into we've still got a round of NRL before Origin next week. Let's start left to right. Brownie, how are you bouncing back?
Staying small again. Michael Oldfield for the Canberra Raiders against the Bulldogs. $2.10 anytime try score.
You loving the ATS?
I'm gonna chip away. $2.10. Yeah, I think he'll score. He probably might score a couple. It depends how the Raiders. Caesar's back. We'll see. I guess they're missing a lot. Bateman's back.
Hey, Caesar's got a lot to prove. He's got an opportunity here. If he could have an out of his skin type of game, then maybe he put some question marks in Ricky's head. So he's got a lot to prove. A lot of young guys coming through. Sebastian Chris gets probably a proper run this time round. Who else have we got? A couple of unknowns.
Yeah, well, it's that time of year.
Yeah, getting a run, which is good. And
Havili at number 9.
Havili, yeah, and there's a young Starling, Tom Starling.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's from Newcastle, I think.
Yeah.
Who was New South Wales under 18s. Apparently, some raps on him.
Yeah,
a young guy.
Interesting.
But you know what is interesting? I'm talking about interesting things. Ricky Stewart said a few weeks ago, very humbly, that we were going to lose some games in the next few weeks, and this is before we got all the injuries.
Yeah.
And that we only had, I think, only maybe Bateman and Rapana were kind of out at that stage, and maybe Tarpany. We were going to lose some games, and we were going to have to be thereabouts for the next few weeks, and it was going to be tough until we get all our players back. And the advantage of that was going to be that we're going to blood a lot of young guys, and they were going to get that game experience that was really going to help us in the back end of the season. And it's kind of coming to fruition. How they play this week is, I don't know, it's anyone's guess, really. I think they'll be up for it.
It's going to be interesting. A lot of chopping and changing. I guess that's going to mix up some of the chemistry, but they should win that game, let's be honest. If we're going on this year's form.
They should.
We have so many people out. If you really look at our team, and the fact that we're still competitive is really promising.
Well, if we win this week, we still stay 5th.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. At the start of the year, there's no way I would have seen that.
No.
Well, we can confirm that because we talked about where we thought the ladder would be.
Yeah. I honestly didn't see him in the top 8 the whole season. I couldn't, but I didn't see Bateman being as impactful as he has. And
well, he comes back. Well, he's named on the extended bench.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he plays this week.
Yeah, he will definitely be back.
Yeah.
He was training this week. He was training the other week. Talking
about punts, how about what a week for anyone to be putting a multi on. Just looking at the Ladbrokes numbers here, it's obviously a shorter week because first week of Origin they're chucking a bunch of buys on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 games to go across there. But there's no real big money getters because a lot of the teams competing are still Origin hit or teams that suck and taking on teams that are Origin hit. You got Penny Panthers, Manly Sea Eagles. They're both at $1.90. That'll be a fascinating game.
Yeah.
Obviously no DC for your family, but that's the way they've been for the last couple of weeks. Parramatta 162 taking on South Sydney 228. South Sydney moves to underdog here because no Cody Walker.
I don't agree with that.
I think that's half decent odds. That was my second option as a bet.
Yeah.
Reynolds might be back, right? So they're losing a bit, but they've still got Reynolds.
And they've still got a forward pack full of Englishmen.
Yeah.
You know, and Parramatta though, but Parramatta because they're not giving up Ferguson. Yeah. Their actual backline looks pretty good. We'll talk about that more in a second. And then your Raiders still favourites 185, 195 against the Bulldogs there in North Queensland Cowboys. Again, not too bad of a bet over the Titans. 210, 172. Obviously missing a little bit of beef out of that forward back. Kyle Felt not getting the call up for the North Queensland Cowboys. So, geez, if you've got a multi, let us know what your multi is down there because this is a week I would be avoiding. The money's not there and there's obviously it's too unpredictable. But if you're feeling ballsy, I want to hear about it. So chuck that in there. Heathrow. You said a lot there, but you didn't say a bet. What do you got?
I'm putting all my money on Canterbury to beat Canberra.
Oh, keeping it simple this week. Staying away from the
I'm putting the
Wallabies.
reverse mock on.
Because it worked so good against the Broncos a couple of weeks ago.
Win-win.
So repeat that, mate. It was
It's
Canberra.
$100, $1.95 for the doggies. Yeah, reverse mock.
Canberra $1.95.
Is it in Sydney? It's in Sydney, right? I think it is.
No, I think it.
They've had a lot of games in Canberra.
So you've been popping so many bloody. Oh, hang on, this is. Wait. Look at that. Look at that previous multi you had on, mate. Corey Oates, try score anytime Broncos to win less than $6. That didn't come off well.
Yeah.
No, it is. This is Sydney.
But that is an interesting bet. That's the first time you have bet against Canberra on this podcast so far, and me as your leader. Look, a lot of the time we have been relying on a one Ladbrokes betting application for all our odds and betting. I'm stepping away and moving into the world of Bet Easy. And Bet Easy, once I give them me code there, they're offering a bit of a both players to score double here. And I'm putting that on the Parramatta game for Mike Sevo and Blake Ferguson. Both players to score at any time in that game. That's paying at $3.65.
In the same team.
And I'm taking that against South Sydney. Yeah, look, they're not missing too much on the backs. They've still got their most of their back line intact. Cody Walker is not there, but both of those guys are try-scoring machines, provided Mike Sevo isn't suspended. The dude knows how to find the line. I think that's great money.
There you go.
That's hot.
Against the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
No, I'm not saying they'll win. I'm just saying they'll score tries.
2 tries. All right.
That's all they know.
Obviously, bet.
One will get in a cheeky early one, and the other one will score in garbage time. I don't give a damn. And Blake Ferguson, I'll finish that later. But yes, you got any sick tips during this 1 week where we start to see a lot of reserve graders get their opportunity in first grade? Let us know. Chuck it in here, a hot tip. If you nail a good one, Brownie here might throw you $20.
Yep.
Yeah.
Paper plane.
And
I'm not going to do it.
let it be known, Ladbrokes, we're dating. We're dating around.
We're not exclusive.
We're not exclusive.
We want to be.
Answer our calls.
Willing to commit.
Comment below.
Swipe
if you
left.
Like the show.
And Ivan, if you're watching. It's been another episode of the 4PP podcast. If you're watching, if you've lasted all the way here, credit to you. Let us know. But if not, we look forward to your company next week, where we'll be hosting a podcast the night before Origin. Look forward to chatting to you then. For the rest of our stuff, check her out our YouTube and Facebook, Home Crowd Sports.